Hello, hello. This is Three Things You Need to Know. And today we're going to talk about the three things you need to know about seller credit. My name is Shelley Zavitz. I'm a licensed realtor in Portland, Oregon for Dwell Realty. I'm here with Tammy Wittren of NFM Lending. Hello, hello.
Hello, Shell. Good to see you.
All right. So seller credit could be something like the buyer asks for a credit in closing up front in the deal, or it could be something that happens already inside the deal. So let's start at the beginning. Right now, we're in a seller's market. Have you been seeing anybody write
No,
a buyer say, I would like the seller to pay closing costs and prepaids?
absolutely not. Not in the last 75 purchase closings that I've had close has a buyer asked or received a credit on the front end for seller to pay buyer's closing costs. It just doesn't happen in a seller's market, right?
Right. Because the seller,
Yeah.
doesn't really want to give away any cash.
Well, he
So,
doesn't have to because he has multiple buyers, right?
right. Okay. So, point number two is once you are inside the deal, is it possible then to get a credit from the seller? And my answer to you is yes. So, in this moment, what will happen is you'll do the home inspection and say something large comes on, like maybe the roof is totally bonkers, or the sewer just doesn't work anymore and it's cracked and it needs to be replaced. Those are items where it's possible that you could get a credit, so cash back, to make a repair.
Shelley, is it true though? Are there some offers being written where you say you won't ask for any credits whatsoever? And so buyer really does need to reach out to their realtor. Is this true?
Like, have we written it into the deal where
Yeah.
it's an
Can
as
you
is
do that?
purchase?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can. So some buyers, to be competitive, will say, we're still going to do the home inspection. And I personally, in Portland, it is totally appropriate that you do a home inspection. You need to know what you're buying.
Yeah.
But then
Right.
also can say, we're just going to check to make sure there's nothing large here. If it all pans out, we're good to go. So
Perfect.
they'll write it up front, but a lot of buyers also will just put a cap on it. So they'll say something like, buyer will not ask for any single repair that's less than $3,000. So that covers a
Awesome.
lot of the smaller stuff. But then if you reach something that's like a roof, a roof could be $8,000 to $12,000, and
Yeah.
maybe the
Okay.
buyer doesn't have cash to deal with that. And I think if it comes up on a home inspection and it is found out by the lender, or the appraiser calls it out, then it gets in the way of actually closing. Is that not
Yeah.
true?
So I could take that point. So yes, as a lender, the property is our collateral, and we want to make sure that that property meets all health and safety. And then all of the general attributes of the home, the roof, the paint, the windows, the plumbing, the wiring, the foundation, all of those things are in great order. When a client asks me, it's appropriate for me to always shoot them back to you and say, hey, check with your realtor, make sure that you can negotiate with the seller and ask for them to pay some of your repairs, which comes to item number 3. What can the seller pay for, or up to what amount is acceptable in a home loan, right, Shell? Is that our
Right.
next
Yeah.
question?
So the next thing that I usually do, and point number 3 is, what can you use it for? The first thing that I'll do if we have a home inspection that has a lot of repairs, which I'm actually in one right now, we have bids coming all the way up now. We're coming close to $30,000 in
Oh,
repairs.
golly.
Every single thing found, it's not great. Anyway, so what the first thing that I did was I called you and I
Yeah.
said, what is the max credit that the buyer is allowed to take from the seller? So please explain what that means.
Perfect. So a seller cannot induce a buyer to purchase property. A seller can pay for true and accurate closing costs and prepaid expenses. Closing costs are discount fees, origination fees, appraisal fees, credit report fees, loan fees in the mortgage. Generally speaking, those run about, let's call it $4,500. If the client buys down an interest rate, that can throw in a couple more $1,000. Prepaids are prepaid interest for 30 days or less, however many days that is. Their homeowners insurance for 1 year, typically $600 to $800 plus any prepaid property taxes or property taxes held in reserve to pay for property taxes when they're due and payable. So all total, depending on sales price, there's anywhere from 8 to 12,000, and on some jumbos you can get as high as 16, 20,000, just depending on taxes. So the key to this is you must always ask your loan officer for a true and accurate number for true closing costs and prepaids, because the seller cannot pay toward your down payment. So if you ask the seller to pay for $12,000 worth of closing and prepaids, and we didn't have that much, that money could technically go back to the seller still. So it's
Right.
always good to get clear with the loan officer what those true closing costs and prepaids are.
Right. So what we're saying is the seller, it's not that, say there's a repair for $10,000 and say that the buyer is meant to pay all of those things that you just listed. So in lieu of paying for, like, actually giving money to the buyer for the house or for the roof, instead it just goes to pay the fees that the buyer would have already paid, so that it relieves money so that they can pay for the roof.
Yeah, it is true though. You could still ask a seller to pay for a sewer, to pay for a roof, to pay for a repair on a foundation. The issue is then your lender is fully aware of those repairs. And again, the property is our collateral, and any known repairs need to be done prior to closing. So then the roof has to be done prior to closing, the sewer has to be done, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. And that really gets hard right now, especially getting people in to do a roof within 30
Yeah.
days,
Yeah.
and done well. So
Yeah. Well, in
definitely,
rain and yeah.
right. Definitely lean on your support group. That's your lender and your realtor. We're here to help you guide through all this. This is all we ever do. So
Repairs, seller credits, you name it.
you
Yep.
name
Back
it.
and forth, back and forth.
Thank you so much, Tammy. I appreciate
You're
you.
welcome. Thanks, Shell. Bye.
All right. Deal with, like a roof or a broken sewer line, or maybe something that is part of the property, like a garage that's falling down.
A
When is it
roof.
or a roof? Yeah. Well, I already said that.
Oh, I didn't hear you. Sorry.
I know, because you're on your damn phone.
Got a phone call. Sorry.